Thank you for that. Well, thank you everyone for attending, and for those of you who plan to visit this recording later on. Um, I'm Jennifer Cook, the Director of Strategy and Impact, and I get the pleasure of opening our session today, and then passing it on to our team, who plays a critical role in the success of this program. Um, Real quickly, before I dive into this slide and a little bit about who we are as a foundation, I do want to cover some housekeeping items. Um, we do ask that you keep yourself on mute throughout this session, and that you take care of your needs as well. So feel free to go off camera or step away and come back as you need. Also, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to enter those into the chat, or save them until the end of the program. So we will have time at the end to answer any questions that were not addressed throughout the presentation. Um, and then finally, just a kind of quick high-level overview about the Area Foundation and this program. So the Area Foundation serves as your most trusted and impactful philanthropic partner. Trust is a huge part of what we do. And it's through trust and relationships that we're able to achieve meaningful impact with the community that we partner with. Um, and with that, our goal is to close opportunity gaps for those who need it most. And so we know that for many nonprofit leaders, regardless of the position or role that you're in, there are very few spaces for leaders to come together, to share their life experiences, to share their own expertise, and to have a safe space or safer space to build authentic relationships and networks. Many of the professional development programs out there, including many that the Area Foundation runs, are heavily focused on the administrative and more tangible skills you need to be successful in your role, while this program is heavily focused on building relationships, authentic relationships, with each other. So you'll hear more about how we do that in throughout today's presentation. And our goal is to help you better understand the fellowship experience, what to expect from it, and then, of course, get your questions answered. So with that, we can move to the next slide. And I'll briefly introduce who you'll be hearing from and who you can expect to work with should you apply and be accepted to the program. So there are a team of individuals that help make this possible. Key players are here on the screen in front of you. Not present currently, but hopefully he can join us later, is our Chief Impact Officer, Ryan Lugalia Holland. He is responsible for all of our community engagement and impact grant making and activities. You see myself on the screen here. I play a key supportive role to the other individuals on the team. And so you'll see Jasmine Victor, who is also employed by the Area Foundation as our capacity building coordinator. And then currently our two facilitators, who Troy has been with us since the inception of the program, Sandy recently joining to help guide and bring their expertise to make sure that this program is successful and is responding to what our leaders need in the community. So as we move throughout, you can always reach out to any of us for questions. You will hear from Jasmine, Troy, Sandy throughout the presentation, and hopefully Ryan, if he's able to join us. And with that, I will pass it over to Troy, I believe, to take us through the history of the program.
Thank you, Jennifer, and welcome everyone. As Jennifer mentioned, my name is Troy Harden, and I have been one of the lead facilitators with the fellowship since its inception. A little bit about my background. I've been doing consulting, training, and facilitation work for a long time now, probably over 25, maybe 30 years, and around the country and even globally. And I also wear another hat. I'm a professor in the Department of Sociology at Texas A&M in College Station. And so if you ever look me up, you'll see, these different hats emerge in a lot of different ways. We came together to develop this fellowship. And I say we, particular a gentleman by the name of Richard Johnson Martinez, who is a San Antonio native. We worked together for several years, including in the development of what was called the Multicultural Leadership Academy in Chicago. That was put together by the Latino Policy Forum in an effort to strengthen African American or Black and Latino relationships in Illinois. It was very successful and it continues to this day. We just had another cohort finish that. Um, but Richard thought, hey, I'm a San Antonio native. I live here. I think it would be a rich opportunity and begin to talk with the foundation, San Antonio Area Foundation, about the development of that. And so we initially termed it the Equity Fellowship and later renamed it into Confluence, which we think is a very powerful and beautiful name. Part of the development of the what we call the MLA in Chicago was this idea of not just bringing people together who happen to be Black or Latino, but leaders, leaders and emerging leaders, people who had been doing work within the public sector, for a minute, and part of it was to really think about this idea of what it means to be a leader, but also not just lead one's respective community, but all folks, and to bridge what might be some particular gaps, right? And so from there, the program's grown to what it's grown into today. And so here, we added on to this, particularly after the pandemic and the summer of 2020. Many leaders around the country felt that there was a continued need to really enhance this idea of what it meant to be an authentic leader, right? True to one's values. How does one do that and stand with that in a very contentious time, right? No matter what side of the fence one stands on, no matter what we bring and what we term our intersectional identities of being Latine, African American, Asian, Korean, Mexican, Puerto Rican, white, Christian, Muslim, etc. Right? How do I center all these things of who I am and how do I lead and also well with others and even understand others. And so, in that sense, we created a space where first we want leaders to think about what it means to lead authentic as an authentic leader, right? And also think about this idea of what it means to be um, healing oneself, right? And committed to ongoing growth in that particular way. Many people are long on their path of healing, but then how do we share that with others, and particularly with other leaders in a particular way? Building bridges across those differences, whether that's within the context of our personal work or even from an organizational context. How do we partner? How do we build solidarity? What does that word even mean? Particularly in, again, an often contentious world. Thinking about this idea of community context in a deeper way. That means both thinking about our own respective communities, our contextual history, and ultimately how we partner with other groups in different ways across the city, across the region, and then ultimately what does it mean to think about this idea of sustainability across a constant changing world, including a world that is transforming based on everything from climate to AI, right? How do we have conversations and think practically, as well as innovation in an innovative way about these particular things. And so those are our core goals in terms of how we bring people together. We have four what we call core learning competencies that support the work. One is this idea of intercultural understanding. One, deepening our appreciation of our own respective cultures while we're also thinking about and learning about and connecting with others. San Antonio is a very rich city culturally. We see it, driving down the street. We talk about it, we think about it, but how do we bring that into expression as leaders, but then also connect and embrace a level of inclusion and belonging, across the many diverse groups that exist in the city? How do we think about civic engagement, right? That term is thrown out a lot when we talk about working in our respective communities, but how do we really think about partnership in a pragmatic way and in a growth-oriented way? We think creative expression is a critical pathway to that. So we use a lot of creative techniques to get people to really think about how they do their work, how they want to work as transformational leaders in a particular way. As leaders, we often get, I won't say stuck, but we'll develop a routine about how we work and how we do what we do that sometimes, has great success, but we'll ask the question of how do we want to push into really transforming our organizations, ourselves, and our work together. And so we do that through some very creative means. And we also center this idea of healing centered engagement, a term it really became popularized through a colleague of mine, Dr. Sean Jenwright. Dr. Jenwright talks about the idea of how many people are talking about trauma-informed care, which shifts the paradigm from something's wrong with an individual or a community or even an organization to what happened. And that healing centered engagement moves and shifts this from what happened to what's right with you, right? And what are those inherent strengths and assets that organizations, communities possess, and how can we build on those things collectively in order to have the outcomes that we need? And so, in this sense, we really work to create a transformational learning environment where we ask difficult and critical questions of our world and each other that sometimes is just not safe to ask. And as leaders, a lot of time again, too, as I heard someone say, it's lonely at the top and the air is thin. Who do I lean back into to talk about some of the difficult issues and dynamics that happen in our respective communities or even problems that I have in the organization? And through the cohort, we have leaders who represent, several different types of areas and backgrounds that they really lean in to support each other in a very dynamic way. So that's our core learning competencies, our program goals. And we do this through select activities. We have 8 sessions, 6 one-day sessions held at different nonprofit sites in the city. So we go to different sites, some of the organizations and locations many of you are familiar with, some brand new. But we have our one-day sessions there, and we have 2 overnight retreats in the Hill Country, right? So we get out for a couple of days, get everybody an opportunity to get away for a minute. We think this is immensely valuable. Everybody highlights, these overnight retreats as being one of the standout components of the program. In part because we get away from our daily routine. We love our families and our families are awesome, but sometimes it's an opportunity to get away with peers, to uh, connect and, be in nature, but also do a little work as well. We have several subject matter experts that we bring in, some local to San Antonio, others at different places. Like I have a colleague or two who comes from Texas A&M down. We have people who are from local universities, but also other nonprofit leaders who come in and offer different levels of expertise around different subjects, from civic engagement to the healing centered work I talked about to the creative piece, and even communication work. These activities are facilitated in what we call a safe space, what some call a brave space. So we do ask people to stretch, and we do challenge people to, move outside of what we consider to be your comfort zone, but not without delicate care and support, in a critical way. And again, we offer people the opportunity to really build some strong relationships and partnerships that extend way beyond the actual fellowship itself. So many people do think about ways to partner and do program activities together in their respective organizations, or even just have as supportive and solid network, beyond the fellowship. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Troy. And now we will hear from Sandy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sandy Palomo Gonzalez, and I'm very happy to be here with you today. A little bit about my background. So I worked for over 30 years in the nonprofit and community foundation sectors. And I served in a variety of roles, including while I was at the Area Foundation, on the grant making side of the house, and then on the learning and development side of the house. So I'm very pleased to be with you all. I'm actually in an encore career mode, and I feel very humbled and honored that I'm able to continue working with nonprofits through this program. So we're going to talk a little bit now about feedback and continuous improvement. And I wanted to echo what Jen said, because she said that this program is really intends to respond to what our leaders need. And one way we do that is we're continually asking our fellows for their feedback. So really after every session, every retreat, we're going to survey the individuals, and we're looking for feedback from everything to the speakers to the meeting site, even the food. We really want to get your your feedback. And then what we do is we meet as a team and we talk about your feedback, and we determine, what changes we can make or how we can continue to strengthen the program. So if selected for this program, just know that your feedback will be important, and it will shape the program going ahead. Next slide. So another really important aspect of this program, Troy spoke about the various elements and the meeting sessions, etc. But in addition to that, one thing we want you to be aware of if you're applying for this program is that there is a capstone project. And the way that this works is that each fellow will design and propose some kind of project, equity issue related project at their organization. And you might be wondering, well, gee, what is the purpose of this? And the purpose is to help incorporate all this new knowledge and skills and relationships that you're going to build through this program, and to actually use that information and to put it into practical application, to really use it in a real world setting. Because we know that even when we can practice something, when we can actually do it, we're really going to learn it, and we're going to incorporate it into our work. So that's the reason that we do this. We want you to practice those new skills. So you might be wondering, okay, what does this look like? How does it work? So logistically, what we would ask that you do, so if you're applying for this program, you might just start thinking about this now, but identifying this equity issue related project that you're interested in doing. Then we'll have a one-on-one meeting, and we'll discuss your proposed project. The reason that we have this discussion is we want to set you up for success. And we know based on our past history that there's some things that can make your program more successful. First of all, we're going to find out, is it indeed addressing an equity issue? Because that's key. That's what we want to make sure happens. We'll also ask about the program in terms of timeline. Is it look like something that can be completed within the time frame? And it might be that we tweak it some, or have you scale it back a little bit to ensure that you can complete the project within the allotted time frame. And then lastly, and very importantly, oftentimes these projects are going to require buy-in from leadership. Maybe it's your direct supervisor, maybe it's the CEO or executive director of the organization. So we'll talk you through that and make sure that you have the buy-in again so that your project can be successful. So once we have these conversations, then we meet as a team, and then we'll give you the stamp of approval and you're free to move forward with the project. One of the cool things I think is that part of the project is that you have the ability to secure a $1,500 mini grant to help with the project expenses. And at the end of this, Jen, if you want to share a few words about that, I'd like you to do that. But just know, folks, that is part of this work. And then finally, on the last class day, each fellow will come up and present their project to the group. And this is a way, again, as Troy said, a lot of this is about relationship building. So it's your opportunity to come in front of the group and share what you did, what you accomplished, and to talk about the skills that you engaged as you were doing this work. And I got to tell you, it's a lot of fun. We heard some very, very interesting examples this past fellow, and I wanted to share two with you because you might already be thinking, what kind of issue could I address, or what could this project look like? So I want to share two quick examples. One is a fellow who worked in the financial education, the financial literacy space. And so she said to us, there are certain parts of the community that don't have access to this type of financial literacy education. So she proposed that she would conduct a one-day seminar in a particular part of the city, again, that was traditionally underserved. So she did all of the work, everything from the marketing to the curriculum to the locating the site, et cetera, to conduct this seminar. A second individual worked with high school students, and these were students who who were typically balancing jobs, maybe parenting, and so in many cases they needed additional resources. So she came to us, and her idea was that they would build upon a small food pantry that they already have and expand it while adding a prom closet so that students would have access to food, but also access to clothing and such that one might wear to prom. So those are two of the projects that we saw this last cohort, and you can see that they're very different. So it is going to be different based on the clients you're serving and your organization's missions. They can look very different. So that, I think, is the project in a nutshell. I guess the one thing I would add is if you're thinking about your schedule, uh, should you be accepted for next year, remember you're going to need to build in time as well to do this project. It is very doable. 21 of our people completed the project last year, but you want to keep that in mind. And Jen, did you want to add anything about the mini grant?
Yeah, I'm happy to share more about that. So the capstone project has evolved over time, again, through feedback that we acquired from previous cohorts and participants. And so where we are today is focusing on how we can help you as a leader advance your work internally. We know that all nonprofits exist to close opportunity gaps in some way. And a lot of times we are so focused on that external facing, if you will, with the people that we serve, that we often neglect or we don't have resources that we need to build internally. And so this is also about helping you build your internal capacity to be able to advance your work. So as Sandy mentioned, there's lots of different projects that can be done. Um, all are unique to your organization's mission and services that you provide. And we don't want a lack of resource to be a roadblock to accomplishing a project of, I would say a smaller project, if you will, in nature. The impact is huge. We know that. And so we provide mini grants to, to organizations and leaders that are in the program. I will say you do have to meet some eligibility criteria. One of the primary ones being your organization does have to be a 501(c)(3) in order to receive the grant. And once your project is approved, we make that payment out so you can begin using those dollars to advance your work. So if you have any more questions about the capstone project and grant process, please pop those in the chat or hold them for the end, and we will be happy to clarify further.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Sandy. Once again, my name is Jasmine Victor. And just a little background on me, I started as a facilitator with the second cohort and so excited to join the Area Foundation full time at the end of last year in the middle of the fifth cohort. So with the exception of the first cohort, being able to watch the fellowship grow over the years has truly been a major joy for me. And so I'm excited that you all are interested and hope that you're able to get your questions answered today. So I'm going to get us started talking about the eligibility criteria. So we do accept one senior executive level leader, board member, or staff person at one per 501(c)(3) organization. So we can't have more than one person per organization, and obviously everyone goes through the application process. But if more than one person can apply from the same organization, but we would only accept one per organization. We expect commitment to participate fully and attend all classes and class sessions. We do understand emergencies happen, and we also understand that sometimes there are events that can't be moved. And so when you go through the application process, you'll see there is one question that does ask, since we provide all of the dates ahead of time, do you foresee any conflicts? That does come into consideration because we want the fellows to show up as much as possible, but there is understanding sometimes depending on the circumstances. We're also looking for applicants to have organizational support. You will be asked to provide a letter of support from someone at your organization, as well as another reference letter. So we do want to see that your organization supports you, especially considering the capstone project that we just talked about. In order to have, the best ability to actually make change, you want to have your organization believing in not only you, but in this program and your participation in the program. And then finally, that last piece, a letter of recommendation from a professional reference. So that person, one person from within your organization, and then another letter from someone who doesn't have to be in your organization. So that's what we're looking for as you prepare for your application. And then once you begin your application process, so the applications are currently open in the same message that you received that showed you how to register for this event. It also had the link to apply, but you can also find that on our Area Foundation website if you just search for the Confluence Fellowship. So that application is open and it will close on August 7th. So you still have some time. We highly recommend that even if you haven't started your application process, if you know that you're going to apply, to go ahead and reach out to the people that you're going to be asking for letters from. So the deadline is August 7th, and then throughout the month of September, we'll conduct candidate interviews. These are 30-minute virtual interviews for select applicants who meet all of the criteria to that point. Those interviews are conducted by the staff, facilitators, and alums so that we can all get to know the candidates. The candidates can also ask questions in a well-rounded way, and then we'll continue to take what we learn in those interviews to help us make our final decisions, which those notifications will go out in early October. And we do our cohort kickoff, which is a, sort of informal but expected event to meet everyone, to get to know everyone, to start setting the expectations for our 8 sessions, as Troy described earlier. So this is our process. If at any point you have questions, you'll be able to reach out to the staff to ask if you're wondering where we are in the timeline, but this is the structure we tend to follow in the process. Okay, and so once a fellow completes the program and they complete their graduation in May, then they officially join our alumni group. And so that is, again, this would be the sixth cohort. So we have five cohorts of alum. And so we're able to gather together, not only in formal settings, but we get to see, especially after the capstone projects or just in those relationships, we get to see a lot of collaboration outside. So the relationships don't stop at the end of the program. And so even with that, this Friday we're having an alumni event, a lunch and learn, and we're trying to do 4 events a year with the alumni. And that way you're not only getting to continue the relationships with the fellows are not only getting a chance to continue the relationships with the people they completed with, but also getting to know fellows who completed before them. And so just to help give you a better view of what the experience is like from an actual fellow perspective, we have with us one alum, Dr. Yvonne De La Rosa, who was in our fifth cohort and was just a great addition to the program. And so, if you're able to, you can unmute and just share anything you'd like to say.
Sure. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Yvonne de la Rosa, and I am the Executive Director of Teatro de Artes de Juan Seguin. I saw some of you on in the participants, and I'm very excited to share my experience with the Confluence Fellowship, what I experienced, and what you have look forward to. I'll say that when I probably sat in your seat at this time a year ago, and do I want to fill this out or I don't want to fill this out? Do I have the time to do this? Do I not have the time to do this? It's going to take me away from work, but I want to share that this is going to be something that you will not forget. It will also be something that is going to be healing for yourself because we put in so much effort into the communities that we serve that it is okay to take time for yourself. Sorry. It is okay to take time for yourself. And you're going to meet new people and network with people that you may never have networked with before and continue friendships outside. I'll touch a little bit on the capstone because I know that that too can sometimes sound scary, but it really is not. It is something that can be done within the realm of your work, but also will not take a lot of your time, but will help you to broaden your mind into thinking what other ways can you do the work that you do. And I think it gives you the opportunity to try something you've always wanted to do, but you just didn't have maybe the funds to do it. This will allow you the opportunity to jump in and do that. I'll say that the networking portion of this was really extremely helpful for me. I had a group of five, and we still communicate with each other on a weekly basis and do some weekly check-ins, and then have been able to network and get some, I guess, other people to come into our group so that we can try to work together to help each of our organizations in our respective ways and use our own funds of knowledge that we have to share with each other and to make this a better space for us because we do put in so much time and we need time for ourselves. And so I will say, with healing, the time away in the spaces that they provide for us were excellent. They said something about food. The food was great. But the fellowship, I think, is really what you're going to enjoy the most and also learning about yourself and taking time to reconnect with who you are. So I hope I've given you a good little, sample of what this can do for you, but also take the chance, fill out the application. You won't regret it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We think it's always so helpful to be able to hear the voice of, just like Dr. De La Rosa said, like she was in your position, and so going through those same thought processes. So again, if you're able to apply and if you make it to interviews, we do include alum because that'll be a time to ask direct questions to them, be it about logistics or just experiences and things like that. So we want you to get as much information as you can before you actually commit to the program. All righty. So I see that our Chief Impact Officer has joined the call. I'm not sure if he is ready at this time to speak, or if you'd like me to come back.
Hi, everybody. How we doing?
Great.
Um, is anybody on the fence about applying or feel like curious or concerned around anything you have heard or think the program may or may not be?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something specific to the capstone for a little more clarity. And that's that it doesn't have to involve your clients. The project really is up to you to develop. And we had, for example, I think it was three individuals who were very interested in ensuring that, for example, I will give Dr. Yvonne's organization as an example. And Yvonne, if I'm not giving this the justice that it requires, please chime in. But she was really interested in ensuring that her families in the Seguin area had access to the services they provide. And one way to do that was to continue to diversify and build the donor base that they had. So part of the work that she did involved bringing in a student from the local university to help them develop a survey that they could use then to survey donors in the community, with the idea that they were going to find out what kind of connection and what did the community understand about the organization, and how could they better message in order to attract these donors to ensure ultimately that their clients had access to services. Yvonne, do you want to add anything to that? If you're still on.
I think Yvonne had to get off of the
Oh,
call.
okay. Okay. So it doesn't, in the short, it doesn't have to involve your clients directly, just so you know.
Thank you for that question and that transparency. And I also want to say, Sandy is the person, as she's shared, that walks along those capstone projects. So she's able to navigate those conversations. And it could be that maybe it's looking at policies and how that impacts the work. Like there's ways around it without, I think, making it that challenging. So, Ryan, was there anything else you wanted to say?
I'll just close with this. Like, I think our the ceiling for how much impact any of us can contribute to the world is determined by how much we invest in ourselves. And I think if we don't take the time to invest in ourselves and to refill um, the well, then we're limiting what we can give to others, right? There's a saying, inner freedom is a social responsibility. So I would just encourage anybody to not have kind of like a false wall between the way you think about your own self and journey and wellness and the way you think about what you give and bring to the world, because those are deeply and profoundly connected. And that's exactly the kind of confluence this fellowship is designed to support.
Well said. Thank you so much.
Jasmine, can I add one more thing?
Sure.
We may have touched on this, but right now I'm not recalling that we have. So regarding, just some of the sensitivity that we're navigating in our work, and even personally, the Area Foundation does not take that lightly. And we truly want to create the safest space possible for fellows to engage. And so even with that, you will find throughout the program that there will be times where Area Foundation staff will remove ourselves from the room so that you can just be with yourselves and the facilitators, without our presence having any possible impact on how you might show up or what you might share or what you might experience. So we're very intentional about creating that space for our fellows for that personal healing and growth. So I just want to acknowledge that because we recognize we are a funder that is delivering this program to many of the agencies that we partner with in different capacities. And so we know that that can be intimidating. And so we try to be very intentional about addressing those dynamics within the program as well.
Yes, very great point.
Yeah, and I'll just add, thank you, Jennifer, for bringing that up. I think that's one of the things that I believe makes this space unique. It's what I truly appreciate as someone who is more consultant coming in from the outside and working with the group, is that I think we have that level of honesty about real world practical stuff, that folks are dealing with, and that without trying to fix things or prescribe. I think we have done the best job possible, of really creating a space for folks to have some honest conversation about some of these things, particularly some of the things they're dealing with in the climate, right? Because ultimately, there might not be an easy answer, right? And I think that's part of the misnomer, is that somehow or another you come into the space and we talk about authenticity, and now you're going to go back to work and tell them the truth. It's not about that, right? It's about really working with and with us and your peers, and really thinking through, how does one support my ongoing well-being within this context, and also stay true to mission and even the missions of our organizations and the people we serve in a dynamic way, right? And I think you'll find that people who've been through the fellowship before will say that we've been able to do that in a way that is affirmative, energizing, and also serious about the world and the climate that we're in too. So I'm really appreciative of you all being here, and look forward to applying and possibly you all joining us.
Hmm. Hmm. I agree. And Alpha, I saw your message in the chat, and we hope that you're able to take that information back and get that full support as well.
And also know we are here to support you in the application process as well. So if you need some assistance or guidance on how to speak with your agency or employer, or you want to jump on a call for us to explore it further, like part of our role as a foundation, as a foundation that's heavily invested in capacity building, is to help you build the capacity to be successful through our processes. So please consider that. As you continue to think about approaching your employer, framing it, applying, and all the things.
Thank you. Yes, and that is the next note, that we are available, whatever the question may be. If it's further clarification on some of the content or the ask, or if it's technical assistance, we do have that available. We also will have a recording of this session on the web. Yes,
Yeah, just
exactly.
wanted
So
to confirm.
I'll put my email address back up if you have questions, and it's also on if you go to the web page at the bottom, you can also find my email address there.
Yes, love
Jasmine,
it.
Can I add one thing?
Of course.
And it's about the interview process, just in case any of you are wondering. It, Even the interview process is very supportive, and the idea is really to get to know you better and to understand, your desire to be part of the program. So there's no like gotcha moments or anything like with the interview. So just know that as well.
That's a great. Okay, well, we will hang out a little longer if anyone wants to stay on and ask more questions, but we also want to be conscious of time. Thank you for joining us for an hour. We hope this was helpful and informative, and we hope to see your applications in the system soon.